Hello, hello. Welcome. So, today is the day. EMEA Masters final. We finally get to it. So, I was away when this actually happened. I do know the result, as you can tell from the title of this. But I just want to enjoy it and see it because I haven't actually seen the games yet. So, we'll do that together. Same as before. I'm giving up doing these as like reviews. If you want more review style content, spent 2.5 hours discussing one game yesterday, so if you want in depth, you can look at that instead. The VODs on YouTube. For now, we'll just enjoy it together. So don't need to rush as well. I know there's only 3 games. But we'll just enjoy it. So, Azir, Ivan, Corky, Maokai gone, and now it's already hard for me to shift my mind back a little bit. No Neferi, no Gwen. These bans are troll. What, the EC ones or the ones fella? Oh, someone let me know if their comms are fixed. By the way, I could watch one of their streams instead, but it's always been like out of time. Yeah, I mean this obviously Value's been playing it more often than he used to. I keep changing the size of my Epic Pen by accident. If anyone knows what the hotkey is for that, and I can change it. This is... Wait, what do I... Okay, that's maybe too big, but we'll go with chunky for now. Yeah, this band's a little odd to me because it's mostly... I mean, I guess on like you can go like the Ezreal, Ivan, and Leona kind of combo. But often that's the thing that you take like into Skarner and stuff like that. So now maybe Value just doesn't go Skarner, but there's one of the classic counters is gone. And as soon as you've got Rumble already, like either you can still take away the Vi here, but also if you go Skarner, they can't go Zyra, which is the other answer that we've actually seen be decently good. So obviously not famously Skarner. Yeah, they did start. I'm skipping the semis. I was told they were not very good games. They were just super one-sided. If we finish this, I'll do the semis straight after this. If there's still people who are interested in that. So you've got an easy answer into it in Galio as well. Did you just go Galio Vi here as well? You deny the Vi Rumble combo? Would you take Ezreal thinking that they'll take Vi? Oh, Jin already. Oh, Ezreal's gone, sorry. I'm blind. Okay. Interesting. So they do get the Skarner without the Ivan counter. Yo, John, since the LR versus Nord coach POV, been waiting for another apple then pudding. I actually did just eat, but I saved it for off stream. Okay. This is strange as a start, right? Did I miss something? Like where? I guess with all these AD bans, but the Jhin priority still would be a little bit shocking to me. I like the idea of just building up setup so that you can play with Viego. Finals are not stomps. I mean, Certus has played in LEC and stuff, right? So you'd hope that. Also, they play against KZB all the time, so it's maybe slightly more, but not that much. They did lose to KZB though, so I guess maybe you can make that point. So Orianna and then support on 5. I still think this is all quite strange, but maybe I missed something. Like I would be expecting Vi to be a much higher priority. I would expect that the Jhin blind seems quite strange to me, but I guess you're hiding the fact that you want to take the Viego. This seems a bit like specific prep to me. I don't know if someone watched their comms, but this seems like they know this is coming. Because otherwise this is strange. This is not something that I've seen them do Jhin 1-2 before. But I think they might know the whole thing, like the first 3. Then I like the Ori as a takeaway. with Azir gone, extra wombo as well. Now you've got a situation where, I mean, you do have the the Skarner, I guess, as well, but it's blind Alistar, which should make this bot lane ridiculously hard, right? I would think. Huge LR fan myself. I've got federal content by the algorithm. Thanks. Looking forward to more Nord content. Thanks. Yeah, you could be a fan of both teams. That's what I'm doing here. I've competed in the first ever EMEA Masters with what is now the NLC region, and we've been trying to win ever since. So I'm enjoying this as a fan myself. So you can be a fan of both. I think that's fine. Knew they would pick MF, and they would pick Jin into MF anyway. Okay. Yeah, it seems like. Okay. Yeah, I think it's like when there's a slight weirdness on one side, it's especially early on in a best of 5. Like I think they know what's coming. I just you've got two assumptions: either everything's gone crazy and they've decided to rechange everything, or they know exactly what's coming. And I think it's probably the latter, especially going into finals. Okay. So this was one of the teams that I had on the verge. I thought this was going to be a difficult matchup for RATONES. I think I had, technically, I did say they would be 4, so I did say they would lose this, like before the tournament. I had KCB, Heretics. Actually, no, I said they'd be 4, so they would beat EC, but lose to Supermassive. That's what I thought. So it's strange to get them in the final. Was Kajal a player when you were a coach in XL? Yes. And Kajal was a player against us when I was in XL before that as well. So I mentioned the first ever EMEA Masters. I think we beat Diabolus where he just moved to jungle and knocked them out, which is why we got the second EMEA Master spot. Or EU Masters it was called at the time. Most people had EC as a winner of this series. Yeah. I think, like I said, before the tournament, I said these two would be quite close. And I had KCB and stuff ahead, but then obviously the 2 player changes. This invade is very bold, just playing off the fact that Bard level 1 versus Alistar level 1. But it is always like these kind of invades will always add a bunch of variance to the game. Like this can go really badly, this can go really well. Like it changes up the game a lot. So they get the smite, flash trade, obviously. Oh, no, he does get him. But I don't think that's worth it. Because Victor no flash now as well. Of course, like you want flash on Viego, but I think actually even with Alistar, I guess he's got Hex Flash. I was going to say, so even with Alistar, like I don't necessarily hate the trade there because you can actually just like farm a bit safer and you don't get yourself in skirmishes until your flash is back up. I don't think so though. Okay, you're going to have to burn TP and flash on Victor, and of course you don't get any extra gold for getting first blood. So it will depend on who gets the next 2 kills. I don't like that, by the way. Can I say that? When they first changed it and you got one of the feats of strength things for first blood, it was still important to get first blood, and it incentivizes you to trade. Because if I die and kill the person, but I kill them first, then it's good. Whereas now, it's gone. So, I don't know. I think it's okay, but I actually like it. If now that it's 3 kills, give them 400 gold again. Get an extra 100 gold for getting first blood or something. Really interesting invade, actually, from Velia. So even though the first thing didn't work, and even though... So the first invade didn't work, what I think people would naturally assume that he does then is just to back off. Because he dies, but he just goes Raptors into straight blue, because you've got top push with Galio, and Galio is also going to be really useful in fights. If Baus ever comes down, like for this, if it turns into a longer fight, and they've got great vision on Skarner, so he just gets the blue. People were pretty down going to LR going to this based on the latest scrims. Did they even have time to scrim? Were they scrimming as well as playing the games? Because they were playing like back-to-back days, right? Found it commendable how we responded to losses. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think some of the play they had in groups and some of the play they had against KCB was not very good. Oh, right, okay. Yeah. Scrims before EMEA Masters started. I think against KCB, they made a lot of silly mistakes. Even against Nightbirds, they made quite a few. But then they were getting better and better and like ramping up as the tournament went on. They have a rough. That's the problem. That's the problem, by the way, about having public scrims, because you do get that. You do just sometimes have a rough one. So in the LEC, I'm pretty sure the first time we went 2-0, that was like more wins than we had all week in scrims. It was literally like 1 to whatever it is, 20 in scrims, and then on stage it was win. Yeah, the Supermassive series was insane, wasn't it? I mean, any 5-game fearless is always just fun to watch. But especially when like the teams were kind of going back and forth a lot, which was really cool. I think they played top-notch competition shortly, and during it, you improved a lot. Yeah, but they had strong. The thing that's slightly strange about this is that when you go to Worlds, for example, you get the advantage of scrimming against all the other teams. But in EMEA Masters, you're already doing that. You're already, like, their scrim situation doesn't change. Like, maybe they get a bit more respect, but to be honest, the reasons that you would scrim them before still exist. So, it's interesting. It could also just be like, the teams just happen to line up, and maybe did they get a few partners who are knocked out and so don't mind being streamed now? Because that would make a lot of sense, but I don't think many people have done that, but it'd be great for your brand and for your team. No one did. But like, it would be great for a team to scrim LR when they've been knocked out, because you've got nothing to lose and like just fans the game basically. It's just be interesting. Yeah, I think it's so interesting they won EMEA Masters. I think it makes a really interesting conversation about a lot of things. But also, I think it does show that we are overblowing this thing of like sharing scrims. There is definite disadvantage to it. I'm not pretending there's not. And I don't think competitive teams should stream all their practice. But this idea that like if we accidentally leak a single thing, we're doomed is way overblown. Yeah, don't worry about spoilers. I've seen it. Both the titles of the streams are they're the champions. So I'm just here to enjoy it now. Do you plan to scrim LR sometimes? Yes, I've told them, and like the message I had for our manager is like, we want to scrim them as much as possible. I've said this multiple times. There's like, from my point of view, there's like no downside. From the org's point of view, okay, maybe you eventually kill the hype of us playing together in NLC, but they're very good practice. They stream, but a really big one for me is they're just always on time, and they're like, if they say 15 minutes in between games, they take 15 minutes in between games. All this kind of thing, I think is fantastic. I think it's better to have a dedicated scrim team, so you have that option of customizing your scrim environments, your goals. You play high-level teams at the event. Scrims are vanilla. You mean like having 10 players, right? I think if it could ever make sense budget-wise, which, by the way, streaming scrims might make it make sense budget-wise, then I think having 10 players on the same organization is huge, if it could be done properly. And I know it's been done a bunch in the past in esports, and I know it's been done badly, and a lot of times it's been used like, okay, people use examples like, okay, because Excel tried it and it didn't go well, therefore 10-man roster doesn't work. But I was there. We fucked it. Like, we did not run it well. It was completely mismanaged. That should give anyone no conclusions. But I've heard other people say Excel is one of the reasons why 10-man rosters don't work. So I would always be a bit aware of that. Like, is it execution error, or does the idea not work? Who would have thought that team with Baus, if someone said this 2 years ago, this would happen? It's true. I've said this, I'm just repeating all the things I've said about them in the past, but I think it's so good that Baus is in competitive league now. It just shows a different kind of priority and a different set of things you can do. I mean, I'm fully just not watching this game, I'm just enjoying it. So still just the trades from the first blood stuff. No team really used scouting data for their scrims. I mean, we did. It weirdly doesn't shock me. I think people should. I mean, you would be amazed at the stuff that gets missed. I mean, well, Giant X got knocked out playing against a team where their person, the Merwin on his main account had been spamming Vex into Ambessa, then picked Vex, and Giant X said, we didn't know that was going to happen. We had no idea it was going to go top, I think, is what Kyoto said. And it's not his fault, obviously. Well, I would say it's whoever is one above that. But it's just the like processes, performance processes in League of Legends teams or esports teams are really, really bad. And so it doesn't shock me that like we're playing against a team that's streaming scrims and we don't need to look at it enough or something like that. Like, for example, when we were in the LFL, we noticed that it wasn't us, but someone played against a team, it was like best of ones, and the enemy got side choice both times, and they didn't mention it. They didn't notice that the last time we played these guys, they chose the side, and now we're playing them again, and they choose the side again. They didn't even notice that it happened. No one noticed, except from us, a different team, because apparently we were the only one, like, checking. It's wild. Yeah, I mean, you even watched the Caedrel's co-stream of it, and I think, like, was it Nemesis already instantly say, like, oh, he's playing this top a bunch? Like, you just need, like, it was definitely on a presentation somewhere. Giant X are really into their data and all that kind of stuff. The problem is not that we're not collecting the data. The problem is all the performance processes around teams are just terrible. And so there's not a set process of like how we look at new picks, how we prioritize stuff. They just put a bunch of stuff on a spreadsheet or on a slideshow. Again, I haven't seen it, so I'm not saying they actually do this. My expectation is it was on a slideshow somewhere, Vex top into Ambessa. And for some reason that information just got completely missed. And the Galio pick, by the way, is insane because it's good in the matchup. Baus is really good at it. And I think it's really good into a lot of the champs that EC have. They've had a really impressive split as well, by the way. We shouldn't take anything away from them. This is their first split as an organization. To not only come second in the LFL, which, you know, could be harder, I guess, but also to get to EMEA Masters final as well. It's really, really cool. How much do coaches make a difference? For example, if you coach LR, how differently would they play? I think it depends on a lot of things. It's a really good question, actually, so I'm going to pause. It depends on a lot of things. I think that coaches can make a very, very large difference in the long term. I think that in a longer project, coaches can make almost the most difference, unless you have a massive star player, like a franchise player like Caps or someone like that. But I also really think that I don't play the game. Like when the game starts, the players are the ones playing it. So like, you have to realize that like, I think in a short time frame, I just think coaches, it's not that they don't make much difference, it's that I think you have to be realistic about the kind of impact that you can have. And obviously it depends on the coach as well. So the coaches who are more like super cocky and confident about the game and they're like, this is the correct way to play, you all have to do this, they will have a much bigger impact on teams in a shortest period of time, and they would make the team quite different. So if I had a really set way of like, we have to play like this, then it would make LR quite different if I was the coach, but I'm not that kind of coach at all. So, I mean, I think probably I haven't watched enough actually to see. I haven't watched enough to see how vertical Caedrel is with the stuff that he wants them to do. But I think if you have this roster, you should be playing the way they're playing. So I guess that kind of answers the question. As Bal says, he will not take advice or receive coaching from someone that can't beat him in a 1v1. That's fine. I think we talked about it with CV Max, right? CV Max, the story was on Griffin. He went into the gaming house and beat them all in a 1v1, and then had them quiz him for 2 hours because he said, like, I'm better than all of you and I know more than all of you. And until they were convinced, he just like stayed and kept arguing with them all. I think that's a terrible decision, because the fact that I can beat anyone in a 1v1 has no bearing on if I can help them become better as a player or personal professional or anything. So I can understand where it comes from. But for me, there's a really interesting concept that Jocko Willink talks about, which is your leadership capital. It's sort of like what you're basing why anyone should listen to you, like what you're basing that on. And for me, you should never base that on the game. It doesn't matter how much you know about the game, because you can't always be right about it. Stuff will change. And if you are always right about it, it means that you're performing like below your level. Because let's say you know the most about the game in Europe. Great, good for you. Firstly, that still doesn't mean you're always right. But even if that was the case, then you would want to push a team beyond what anyone else in Europe knows. You're still going to go into this exploratory area where you have to just make assumptions, and some of those assumptions will be wrong, and you find ways to test them. And so there's a lot of coaches who build all their leadership capital on the fact that they know a lot about the game. And then it never works in the long term. Like there's often big problems with stuff like that. And like I say, I've said this a lot. I don't know if it's actually true, by the way, because I'm not in the position because I do know a lot about the game, but I think that I could help a team become better, not speaking about the game, just asking them questions about it. Not my lane, not my problem. According to the winners, everyone should listen and take inspiration from Bass himself. But yeah, I think basically, I'm not saying coaches have no impact, but I do think you have to be reasonable about the impact that you can have as a coach. Saying leadership capital is based on what they know in the game sounds like every challenger player turned coach ever. It can be. I think my problem is when people do it accidentally, which is 99% of the times they do it. It's the default, right? Like you walk in and you're really cocky about your opinions because you think, if I'm like, no, you have to build GA here instead of BT, and I can somehow prove it to you or bash you over the head enough so that you agree, then it's like, oh, now the players are listening to me and that's good. And it's like, okay, I mean, sure, in the short term. Did you watch the Reckless interview? Cajal was talking about the abundance of time. Yes, he said more, a lot more than 70%. Couldn't stop wondering, that's the biggest difference. Okay, on my channel there is a podcast that I do with a friend of mine who is he's also a professional coach, but he is very involved in the academic side of coaching. So he's like currently doing a PhD and all those kind of things. And we talk about these kind of issues a lot because I love exploring what the theory is and then comparing it to what's actually happening. I'm not. Let me know if you want me to. I really want to watch that Tabe one as well. I still haven't. I've had too many things to watch and read. That's the problem with the world nowadays. There's too many interesting things to learn. I'm not watching the team fight at all. Okay, I'm gonna go back and watch the team fight after I answer this question. So we actually spoke in one of our podcast episodes. We spoke a lot about T1 at Worlds. So I think if you just search on my channel and type T1 Worlds, there's a lot of speaking about it. I think it's really, really interesting, and I think it's fascinating and such a good way to show the difference in approaches. Because he was saying, at least from my memory, that it's like basically all the time, like 99% of the time, they're just talking about pick and ban at Worlds. And the thing that I think is really important to note there is it's at Worlds, and I think that shows just a complete different approach, where oftentimes when European teams go to Worlds, they're going there actually from the way they behave, they're going there to learn as much as possible. So less so now, but from a few years ago, we used to scrim in the West like 6 games, let's say, 3 break 3, or 5 games even, which is what we've kind of gone back to. But when teams went to Worlds, they scrimmed their Asian schedule. They did morning blocks and night blocks. Now, I think if you look into performance, you would see that that's not going to make you perform better right now. That's just like increasing the amount of time that you're like learning is great for your learning, and they're much higher quality Scrim opponents and they're much better teams. So that is actually the best thing to do for learning. But if you're there trying to perform, you should think about it in my mind as if like, okay, the learning as a team is kind of done. And so now the only thing that matters that's left is the pick ban. So T1 getting to Worlds, they're there to win. Then they're not thinking like, oh, let's look at our Dragon setups and change how we set up Dragon or change how we call team fights or something like that. It's like they've played together for years at that point. That stuff is kind of supposed to be done. And then they're just like, right, the only thing now is the patch, learn this patch. So yes, it does mean you will change like macro things because it's the macro of the patch. How strong are Void Grubs in this patch? How strong is Dragon in this patch? Those kind of things. But it's not like, okay, now let's change how we call in team fights, or let's change how we prioritize side lanes or talk about strategy in the game, because that stuff should be done. And so that's why I loved hearing it. That whole interview was great, but I loved hearing that because as an example from sport, like Razzie, the head coach of South African Rugby, has said this about both of their World Cups, I think. Their least intense week of practice was the week before the World Cup final. And yes, it's partly about recovery, but he also says, like, we're not learning something new in that last week that's going to make us win the game. Like, we've had 4 years to get to this point. Those 4 years is when the learning needs to be done. So I love that approach from T1. I think it's cool. I think that's the reason why streaming scrims doesn't hurt as much, because you're not broadcasting all the discussions and thoughts. Yeah, I think as well, if people were more intentional about how exploratory or how execution based they make their scrims, they would also be able to identify. There are certain scrims where you could broadcast everything and you probably would lose nothing. The days where you're kind of just like exploring, trying new things. I know Mac, for example, calls them like hand check scrims, where you're just going to basically be fighting all the time. And they keep really light reviews, and they just have like 1 or 2 points. They're not building any like massive habits. They're not talking about how they play the game. They're just like exploring or trying new things out in the public, all those kind of stuff. And then the ones where you're like, day before the game, let's run through the patterns that we know we want to run through. Let's only pick things we know we would pick. Don't broadcast those ones. Okay, so first big fight. Even gold so far. Paid 0 attention. LR again just stacking these dragons, and I think it's kind of caught everyone in EMEA Masters out, by the way. They just copied the priority that KC had on dragons in first stand, and I think both cases it's just kind of caught people out because they're not really ready for this team fight. Basically, they don't have any way to come in, and now they just get caught in a massive Ori combo, and it's the pressure of, oh shit, suddenly this is like Dragon Soul, like Soul Point, sorry. This is the 3rd dragon. This is like a big thing, and suddenly you're like, oh fuck, we have to contest this, guys. When will the next Nord scrims be? It will be Tuesday next week, which will be public because we've got a few people going away. That's the BDS priority. Yeah, but remember, since then, Grubs got introduced and buffed and became the only thing that everyone played for, and all that kind of thing. So yes, we're back to it, but look, 6 Grubs, they just don't care. 6 Grubs, but now 3 dragons. And you've really got to be an insanely good team nowadays to really use those 6 Grubs. And also probably not have Rumble and Victor as your side laners. Are you worried about No Way hurting himself while trying out as a Ninja Warrior? I didn't know he's doing that. Is that now? Is that what he's going to Cologne for? He literally just left me a message saying like he's off to Cologne for a few days to do some events. And I was like, they're probably just going to be like some esportsy kind of events because the last one was just a different game, right? He's doing Ninja Warrior. Please, can someone find out where that is broadcast so that we can all enjoy it? Even with Grubs, BDS in 2024 mostly played Drakes. They went team fight down gold anyways. Yeah, it ties... We talked about strategy before, right? Like they were consistently drafting comps that were really good in team fights. And so they can start to play and prioritize things in team fights. I think it was a mistake in the past to take Dragons and not Grubs. But now I think it's a mistake to do it the other way around. I think Dragons are better, personally. It's on his channel, on some official channel. Okay, perfect. Ninja Warrior S, pretty sure it's not a real thing, but Yeah, I mean a Red Bull version, and even like it's a real physical challenge, is what I mean. That's what I'm excited about watching. I think we should do a team bonding event where we will watch it together. Let me find out when it is, and I'll at least watch it. Watch one of my players maybe injure himself. Baus leaked the Cho Flex they played off stream before the NLC finals, but they hit it. Oh, no way. I saw, are you kidding? I saw the YouTube video of the fact that there was a leaked screenshot, but in the YouTube video, it was like covered up. And I was thinking, what are the chances? Like, shall I go back and find this? But also we had a scout, so I'm assuming that he had it. But if it had the Cho'Gath flesh in it, that I would be a bit sassy about that now. Off topic from LR and Mia, just wondering what you're thinking about the situation with Ruddy Sack last split. Seemed from the outside quite toxic and unfocused on the actual work they had to do to win. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it was better from the inside. That's what I'd say. I think if anything, it was worse. But I don't know. How do you manage to motivate the players as a coach within, like, an example? Well, what I started this split with, which is on the YouTube channel as well, is talking about like what our actual goal is. And I think our goal needs to be ambitious enough and like just out of reach. So we had our goal as we want to beat LR, which is incredibly difficult given a lot of situations, but incredibly difficult. And so I actually used a clip from a movie called Moneyball and talked about that. But I'm only just starting with these guys, so it really depends. For me, motivation, you can't really do in isolation, especially like, okay, I can do a big team talk before we play a game or something. But if you're talking about motivating people over a split, even over a few months, I think it has to come from actually connecting with the players and working out what they need. So that I couldn't tell you how I'm going to motivate the players for this split, but I can tell you a bit from last split, if that helps. How do you manage to motivate players? Yeah, where there's not. Yeah, it's. I think for me, like I'm never going to put a roster together like that Ruddy Sack roster, or I'm never going to accept to coach if someone else puts the roster together, like someone else put this roster together, and last one actually. So that's a big one. I think but then I think if I was like in person and we actually had to win, then I think you can absolutely do things completely differently. You also have to talk about it. Like that's the first thing. They never talked about what they actually wanted to try and do. Grubs win lanes, Drakes win games. Ninja Warrior March 29th. Okay, thank you. Oh, sorry. I'm hopefully. Hopefully you can do YouTube links now. I'm still getting familiar with the Nightbot thing. Yeah, I love Moneyball. Wait, it is Aaron Sorkin, right? A script. But I think that's a fantastic movie. Screenwriter. Yeah, with Aaron Sorkin as well. I just like. Oh. Okay, this is like ultimate watch party. I'm not even. If you paused and asked me who's winning, I would say probably LR. But actually, the game like gold-wise is very even. Obviously, 3 dragons is a really big deal. You force this fight to happen for sure. They put the. I'll jump back a bit because this is a big one, right? It's the Soul one. So they get the push up in mid. Jin can't obviously match the wave clear, which is one of the problems of having someone like Jin. He's much more set up and takes longer to push waves. They put the Herald down bot. Oh no, they don't. They put it down here. They have the big wave. Baus can obviously clear this and just ult in. But they have a bunch of setup, and if they get that first kill, Velia just pops off. Prime already being half HP is a problem because, yeah, you have the ult, but you now have to like fully commit. You don't get another chance to go in and take a bunch of poke and not ult. You have to just be like, I'm going now or not. Okay, but Baus takes a bunch of damage. Ooh. Was that phase rush to dodge his phase rush got him out of the Skarner ult? So he gets the taunt, and the Skarner ult misses everyone, Velia and Baus as well. Temper Fate slows everything down. Big ult. Nice. And now, yeah, they can all just get out. Baus TP's back and he's got much more HP, but they get out with Soul. The TP was a bit strange. Where do you see esports going? That is a too long a question for this. On Friday, I'm going to be doing another one of these podcasts, and we're going to talk about like where we would, the direction of EU and all those kind of things that we've seen as discussion come around first stand, and we can kind of talk about it more there. And we want to like have the people watching also contribute as well. So we'll kind of do that. I won't. Yeah, that's the only topic we have for like 2 hours. And we'll break down like, okay, what it actually means for these players to win, because I think this whole thing of like they're old, therefore they shouldn't win EMEA Masters or all that nonsense is just crazy. So yeah, that's a whole stream topic. It's a great question, but it's a whole stream topic in itself. Okay, I mean, Han Samde is good. So it's so hard against Soul though, isn't it? I guess there's no like mega tank to really have a super high value on the Mountain Soul. But it's just like even game and Soul. And that's the thing that's wild. The podcast is called The Coach Support Show. There's, I think, currently 8 or 9 episodes that are all on YouTube, or should all be on YouTube, hopefully. And then we're doing the next one on Friday. Not this Friday. Next week. Okay. So they trade because they can pressure around Atakan and Baron. They completely ignore the bot side of the map. Certus is going to go take one more wave and start pressuring on the tower. And so if you're EC, I think you just want to like stall this as much as possible. You're playing on bot side, they're playing on top side. If they start Atakan, that's like your one shot where hopefully... Wait, the feats haven't happened yet? No way. I didn't even notice that. It's 30 minutes in nearly. Maybe Atakan is your shot, you know, when everyone gets their resist shredded. Okay, decent bullet time, but now Prime is just dead. And the problem is that, yeah, the problem is that Viego jumping into an Alistar is so obnoxious, because not only do you get the combo, you also start stacking the E, and then you can ult to stick to someone, and then the E can continue, and you get an extra stun as the Viego version of Viego. It's like really annoying. Okay, so they get the first one, but nice ult. Oh, wait, is that let me see that. He gets like a triple combo on runs away with Oroville versus Nemesis ult. I'll pay attention to that as well. Okay, so kind of decent bullet time. Prime does take a long time to die, of course. He phase rushes the ball away. If it wasn't for phase rush, I think. Wait, why does that not hit? Look, it's here, isn't it? Like, he can't pull it that fast. No, so the shockwave's on Galio, but he looks close enough to me. Okay, this is going to sound really weird. Look weird. I don't have the rough file. Yeah, it's like the reverse. It's like the reverse Nocturne ult, you know? Like when you Nocturne ult, you fly in, the animation is nowhere near, and then it hits. I genuinely think if he doesn't have phase rush, he's not fast enough to pull it away. Yeah, and Atakan is just murdering Granny on the backside. Like here, shockwave. But even now, I would have thought if it went off, it would still hit them. Hit Howling. No, he's just too fast. It's phase rush. If he didn't have phase rush, he wouldn't be able to move fast enough out of range. The last time he used phase rush to get out of the Skarner ult, and this time phase rush was used to get the Oreo out of the 3-man. Okay, nice Bard ult as well. At the beginning, slows the follow-up. And they get the Alistar, but because of this nice ult already... Okay, Flash 4-man is wild, but the thing is that there's no follow-up to it. So if Nemesis still has the Shockwave, by the way, and he comes in here and gets it on Velia, and that 4-man Q, just everyone dies. Actually, maybe not. Actually, they're all full HP, so it's probably not the stage of the game where you actually one-shots them all. They lost feats at 26 minutes. Okay, but now you've got Exodia buffs even before. Well, not actually, because obviously you would want Elder as well. That would be just really fun. But you can play super aggro with these. And also Atakan is not as much as the other version of Atakan, but it still would have shredded. And because it's like taking off percentages, it's better when you have the soul. Not better, obviously, but it makes more of a difference. Yeah. If both teams are alive, starting Atakan, I think it's worse than starting Baron. Like, it's harder to fight on Atakan when you've been tanking that than it is to fight on Baron, honestly. And people are more used to baiting around the Baron. For me, if you're doing this Atakan, the idea should be to force a fight, in which case people should already be waiting on flanks in like much better positions. Okay, so obviously when this wears off, still you have the advantage because you have the soul, but they should be able to build more of an advantage here. You sync up the waves. You can take both these towers at the same time. And now I think you should just run at them and like desperately like try and dive or something. If I'm EC, I'm thinking like we have to try and end. Yeah, okay, exactly what Prime is doing. Like you have to think about it as if you're ending on this push. Will there be scrims today? No, unfortunately. People are away, so there's no scrims until Tuesday next week. Then we've got 2 scrims next week, and then we've got our first games, and then we'll start to get back into the 3 scrims a week. Competitive games, kind of normal. Okay. Baus dies, and they get Elder. Surely. This is a 3-0, right? How do they win this game? It's now a 5k gold lead, which does matter, 10%. Good, easy rule of thumb. It's now Elder Dragon with 1 inhib down already. The entity of the game is cinema. How do you validate your performance as a coach? Do you mean validate or evaluate, like judge my own performance? Spouse plays when objectives are up a hair point. Yeah, he does have a tendency. He has a tendency of playing super well sometimes around objectives and then super badly, like in the same game. He'll do something that gets you an objective, and then or you know, when we're playing against him, he'll do something that like means LR get a dragon, and then he'll give us the next dragon by just inting. Like just dying 20 seconds before. That literally was on our first scouting report. Here's some examples of him just dying before objectives, and then here's some examples of him like getting his team an objective. Hands looks so good, I didn't expect that. He's a really good player. Yeah, evaluate. It's also hard. One thing that I do is I do this big reflection exercise after every split. One of the things that is helpful, obviously, is getting feedback from people, but that's a bit of a strange... that's a bit of a strange thing, obviously, because... because it obviously depends on them and depends on your relationship with them and all that kind of thing. But what I like to do is after every split, I just do a big, again, there's a Coach Support episode podcast talking about this for an hour and a half if you want to do that. Looking back at stuff and getting outside like support and mentorship and that kind of thing is really important. So finding another coach or a person that knows a lot about high performance that you can talk to and you can do like reflections with and stuff like that is really important. So there's a friend of mine who is a professional rugby player who I did that with last split, and I would like to do it more even this split. That's the thing that I think can help evaluate your performance. But it has to just be kind of thinking really. I don't think there's a way to say like, okay, 10% of it was me and 90% of it was the players. This E is really bad from Skarner, obviously. Kills him. But you just don't need to do that there. I think you just threaten the tower, and then if you're going to dive, like you go for a proper dive. Yeah, but Veli is insane on Viego. He's always buffering this if it's going to hit him. Like he's always you have to play the game as if he's going to buff the ults properly. Okay, and even with Skarner dying for pretty much free, like Skarner died for Viego ult, they still got another kill. Are the reflections always consistent, or are they always customized? They're all so. What I do a reflection on the split, so not just on myself. But what I do is just like things that made us better, things that made us worse, and then try and judge them. But it's all just gut feeling. You can't say, okay, last split the team environment was amazing, therefore it made us 100% better, and the scrim partners we had were really bad, so that made us 80% worse. Like you can't. Yeah, unfortunately, you can't do that kind of thing. I mean, coaching at the end of the day, like, is just making like loads of decisions, like hundreds of decisions a day. How do I say this? What do we learn? How do we set this up? How do I phrase this thing? And so it's very hard to say, like, to evaluate, unfortunately. You'll just look back. I think one of the things that I always said to coaches that I work with, because before coaching this team again, I was coaching other coaches. One of the things that I always said to them was, if you get to the end of the split and think, oh my God, I've made so many mistakes this split, like I wish I could redo it, that's actually a good sign. If you ever get to the end of the split and think like I nailed it, that's when me as the person who's coaching you, that's the only time I would be worried. Because again, you make 100 decisions a day, there's no chance you get them all right. Yeah. Comms in that fight were funny. Team telling Bells not to go in. Jesus. That's a problem. Is a podcast with your friend, the poker player? Which friend, the poker player? Treats played a lot of poker, but he's not a poker player. So I don't know who you mean. They've always been rewarded in the past, and right now in this game one, they're still building strong, still holding that gold lead, and they've pushed off RATONES off Baron to maybe think about starting it again. Okay, so they pushed him off Baron again. Still Soul, like I said, if you had a bunch of tanks, this Soul would be even more important, but it's still obviously not a bad thing. Ooh, almost a perfect ult. Like I think if you do it a little bit further to the right, you can't get out of it. Or a little bit like diagonally. So, bunch of damage, but already. And this is the thing. Like Alistar just going in like too far separated from everyone else. You've got to. I think if you're doing this, you've got to be. Oh, we're terrible at this, by the way. New teams always are, but we are very much terrible at this. You've got to know, like, okay, are we turning or burning? Is the one that I like, just because it's there a little bit of rhyming. Are we trying to finish this? And in which case, everyone else needs to be playing to keep away, and also Victor needs to actually be on it. Or are we trying to fight? And this, I think, is neither. This is not good for either thing. This is, I think, we get a full pick on Nemesis, and we don't. He doesn't even flash. This disengage, like, I don't like it. Unless he dies 100-0 here, which he doesn't. So, if they're trying to finish this, Certus needs to be on it, so they have more damage on it. And Prime just waits here, and as they come in, he just jumps in to just slow them down as much as possible. And they try and burn the Baron. If they're trying to fight, then this is a horrible fight setup. Like, okay, I would have Alistar here, You can have them with Rumble, sure, but also like Rumble could be here, like people in different places, and you let them come closer. But this is the worst of both worlds. And this happens, by the way, in a 40 minutes of a game when there's like Elder and Souls and stuff like that already. So this is just a bad decision that you wouldn't make. This is a staged decision, I think, as well. Like, I don't think you make this in a final. I don't think you make this unless it's 40 minutes into the game. I Sergio, I thought you said you're... No. During the split, I was doing reflections with a professional rugby player. And the podcast I do is with someone who's involved in like the academic side of coaching. Obviously, and then the other podcast I do is interviewing coaches in esports. But that I haven't managed to keep doing while coaching. That's huge as well. So like this whole fight is just a disaster because Alistar dies for free and Rumble ult is gone. And also Howling gets knocked out. And so they took way too long to do it and they all die on the back end. Or not all die. So Rumble gets away, but that's it. And now they delay his death a bit as well. They're just delaying the Baron even more. So it's just going to be 4v5 for a longer period of time. Yeah, the delay is really cool.
That delay on the death for Certus could be the numbers advantage that lots of owners are looking for the Elder Dragon. You can see the Baron is going down on the top side of your screen, and the rest of IJC are running interference.
But this is not how you stall to. The Skarner ults, by the way, all game. Like, yes, I guess the phase rush, like he's playing well with it. The buffer, like we said, but.
He could follow up on these fights, re-engage. That was a huge win fight right here for Los Ratones.
They're going to need to start going back to base and dealing with these super minion waves, and someone wants to deal with bot lane. Hopefully before Dragon comes up, but Victor should still be dead for Dragon, right? 15 seconds. Okay, yeah, they should have delayed it a bit more, I think.
It's going to be a tough one right here. This team fight, Los Ratones, it all comes down to this. Your game number one.
Fight seemed fine. I completely disagree. I think that fight was doomed from the very beginning. I think the way they did that fight was really silly. Like, I don't know if they don't seem to know if they're playing for the fight or if they're playing to stall to just rush the Baron. I think they should have just rushed the Baron, in which case Victor needs to not hitting it. Like Victor even ults the Baron, and then Alistar just punts Viego away, and I think they take the Baron for free. But also, if they wanted to fight, they could fight much better as well. Okay, so he ults out, flashes back over to seal it. So they push up through mid. Easy this is.
It's going to be a tough one right here. This team fight, Los Ratones, it all comes down to this. Your game number one.
Certus is going to be able to TP in. Taunt not quite good enough because they pinked the bush. Then they insta-flashy. Wait, does he? How does he not? I think if Prime has combo, you just flash combo this. Because the fact that the... What happened to the ult, by the way? What happened to the Skarner ult? Oh, it's just because you don't stack it anymore. So he buffers it out. Yeah, there's a frame. But even here, it looks like he's already facing away. God bless the Skarner nerfs. Because one person should not be able to chain CC you for that long, by the way. Not sure why that was ever a thing. And then he flashes back in. I think if Prime has a flash, he needed to just flash combo onto Velia. And now the Elder, and they just kill them all. Yeah, I was just thinking with the... well, firstly, before the nerfs, you wouldn't be able to, but also I think Prime can follow on that if he flashes, but it's all quite last minute. Yeah, it turns into a 50-50. I think whoever gets that smite probably wins the fight, right? If Viego never got the stun, Alistar, the entire follow-up could have happened. That was the only issue. Okay. Game one is big.
We talked about experience, but I look at our rookie jungler with that miracle steal, and I see the hope for the future for EU.
Why are people call Velio a rookie, by the way, guys? Like, once he goes to LEC, then we can call him a rookie because he'll be a rookie at tier 1. But he played a bunch of ERL splits, didn't he? Like, he's not played in an EMEA Masters final. That's for sure.
Watch the full game from EMEA Masters, Winter 2020.
Yeah, I think Velio's been so good. The glow up of Velio this split has been really cool. And I think that's the great thing about playing with players like this. If you're that kind of person and you have that potential, you'll get it. Didn't he play in the NLC or not? Am I going crazy?
I think Archer made a great point, actually. The fake analyst on our deck about a lot of power picks taken away, specifically for EC Japan. A lot of their really favorite champions are Rumble, Stunner, and Misfortune. All three of those.
Like Zero Tenacity and stuff like that.
That's an Israel. Big one.
2 months in Zero Tenacity.
Not there, Jin is not there, Misfortune's not there. A lot of the counter picks. However, we did mention that earlier in the pre-show on how they flex that.
Rich Gang. Rich Gang's NLC, right?
He does go towards Baus, but now Howling has to make a choice right here. Do you blind? Are you 100% sure you're playing into the Vi?
I would say this is more likely to be a balance buy than a jungle buy, right? At this point, which is crazy. I actually personally am more of a fan as well, like you were saying, George, of getting like early pro on this Ezreal, considering where
I mean, it doesn't matter. It's just interesting. But also, Rookie doesn't have anything to do with age, right? Like, Super replaced Kazi. Kazi at that point was like 3 years in the LEC and had won 2 titles and was younger than Super the Rookie. So what team do you coach? I'm curious. I coach Nord Esports at the moment. Okay, so Ezreal Corki means AP jungle. It means it's blind Corki mid, but Corki, I think, as long as you're comfortable on it, you can play most matchups. The thing with Velio that makes him feel like a rookie is like how much he's got so much fucking better, by the way. Like when we first scrimmed LR, so before our first game even, I would have said there's kind of a really, like, we lost, I think, those more games, and they were a much better team. But I think there was a really big difference in the jungle, like in favor of Santorin, as you would expect. But even by the end of one split, like, he's so much, Velio's so much better. It's really, really cool to see. Like in the first scrims, there was like, each game there was at least one like very big rookie-looking mistake in the jungle, which again is obviously understandable. Like I don't know how many LCS titles Santorin has, but it's a few, a fair few. And then now it's just like so different.
I feel like all the melee support's been taken out. The full right here, only Nautilus is the one remaining. There's 2 things that you can do.
Yeah. Never serious professional environment, but the thing that I would say is like he's played at this level again, not EMEA Masters. If he's literally played in the NLC, I think you can't really say like he's a rookie. You know, like when he goes up to LEC, then he's a rookie again because he's not played at tier 1. How can you tell that he's a lot better versus his weaknesses are being disguised by the players around him? Because a lot, like you can, especially as a jungler, you can make individual decisions that are quite clearly mistakes. And so just reducing those means that you become a much better player, which is a big one when you see like junglers start to get to play with people of this level who understand the game at a deeper level than them and can bring them along. So you start to understand the game a lot better, and so you start to make less of those mistakes.
That's even better.
Have to say, it's nice how the pro scene is more open. We can see behind the wall. Yeah. It's really fun to do it. So I spent the 2 years before this, I spent working with other coaches and trying to make content around like coaching and stuff like that. And it's okay. And I think some of that content was useful. I think some of it was really bad as well, just not very well done. But actually, one of the things that really appealed to me about this project is like now I can just say, look, that was all the theory. In practice, it's way more messy. You're going to make shit tons of mistakes. Here's just an example of me doing it. And I think it's so cool that that exists now as a different avenue for making things work. What's Calist then? Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, like with age, right? So Kazi has just been playing since he was super young. The same thing will happen with Calist, you know? In a couple of years, someone will join the LEC as a rookie AD carry who's older than Calist. because he's just there from the second he's allowed to. Do you think LR was better during lane swap meta or without? With by far. I think our best shot for next split is that there's no lane swaps. But obviously, like, our team is completely changed as well, so I don't really know how. I don't know actually if this version of the team would be better at lane swaps, or of Nord would be better with lane swaps or not. But our last version, I think our lane swaps were nowhere near as good as our normal game, and I think their lane swaps were like the best in EMEA for sure. And I think their normal lanes, obviously, they won, are obviously very good. Yeah, Reckless can play. Yeah, he did that. What was it called? IPL? IPL 5? And then couldn't play in the LCS. Oh, yeah, EUSS it was called at the time. And they'd steal back instead. Did everyone get benched or just a few new players? No one got benched, by the way, from Nord. If we could have run it back with the same roster, we would have. No one got benched. So Treats had to go, well, not had to go. Treats got an offer from an LEC Academy team, which is also paid and also in person. So fair enough. Matt is going away during playoffs of this split. And Santorin wanted to spend more time with his family because that was the point of him not taking LEC or LCS offers. And then he found he had to commit a little bit too much time to doing this. I'm still trying to convince him to come back and coach, which I'm hoping you'll see him on streams and stuff. But we'll see. Who do you think won the draft? Need to see it more. I'm not good at just like watching it once and then just knowing, like glancing at the draft, because for me it's hard to say. I think as always it's hard to pull off Ambessa, and is Ambessa good into Cho'Gath? I would have thought Cho'Gath makes Ambessa really hard, because anyone who's jumping in and getting like silence and stuff, I think is really difficult. I quite like both drops. I think there's a lot of pick potential on the side of LR. Actually, I think I would prefer LR's draft. I think if you was, I'm assuming Maokai was banned, but if you have Maokai instead of Sedge, I think it's a little bit better as well, because also I love that combo with the Blitz. Are these level 2 ganks even worth it in general? I think the way that I think about like cheese in the jungle is when you're doing a suboptimal clear that might have a big payoff. So if the gank doesn't work, you're screwed. If it does, I think if you get the kill on someone like Sejuani, it's like roaming when a wave is when you're losing a wave for it, you know? If you roam and get the kill, we've all played games against like some Katarina one trick who just roams, misses an entire wave, and you're like, guys, he's out of the game if you just don't die. And then your bot lane both dies, and then suddenly it's worth it again. It's like the same thing. And it depends on which jungler you are. So if you're Vi, these early ganks are almost never worth it. But if you're Sedge, they're much more likely to be worth it, in the same way that Ornn dropping a wave in a lane is much more likely to be worth it than Fiora dropping top wave, because Fiora's roam is much worse, doesn't have just the big ult to come in, and also needs more resources. So that's what I would say about those like cheese ganks, or like doing anything like suboptimally in the jungle. So here, this one actually costs a lot because you lose stuff on top side and you lose the time.
Where would you like to go? Hysterics?
I wanted to come back to top, right?
This game is just a Nemesis diff.
It's fine.
Very cool. He's got so comfortable on this Syndra as well. Except for KCP game 1, Nemesis had pretty much 0 in moments this entire tournament. There was quite a few against KC there, wasn't there? I can't remember from our watch parties. He had some insane moments in one of the series that we watched. He had some insane moments and some really silly moments. Some of them were like he's out of position because everyone else is out of position, and some of them were just he's fully out of position.
Look who's hovering. Nemesis hovering right there. Of course, it's a 1 versus 2. I think if Nemesis goes a little bit too far, You will get
But I
punished
mean,
for false
again,
starting.
we'll talk about this more when we do this podcast. But like, I think it's so good for this EMEA Masters to just show that, like, guys, it really is stupid that Nemesis and Crownie are not in the LEC. By the way, it's just really stupid. Like, we've just fucked up, and I think this should prove it. Like, they should have been the whole time there.
That was actually so funny, by the way.
Something's gone wrong.
Unnamed skins. His face.
Glad to hear about Santorin. Yeah, I mean,
Didn't have the greatest of times there.
there's no hard feelings at all with any of the people they've gone. I need to actually talk to Matt again since he left, but the others I have.
I don't know if you call that worth, but as bad
I think Santorin would be an insane coach. I think he'd be so good. He sees the game like so clearly and can explain it really well. I mean, he's also just an insane player, so
Yeah, look at that
who knows?
grin on his face down there.
No, I'm not saying
He's cool with that.
Did you see the head
I'm not saying
Blitzcrank taking the kill?
that we should like force them or anything. I'm saying
also
the fact that there's not loads of appealing teams in the top level of competition in Europe that can encourage people like Nemesis to play in the LEC, that's the problem. You know? Like, if the ecosystem was better and all 10 LEC teams were like appealing places to go, Nemesis would be playing in the LEC. You know? That's what I mean.
yeah, he might indeed.
Or I mean, Crownie's the same, but I think Crownie probably also has
And as Velya wasn't able to steal a grub, that was actually a smite steal in front of him as Theocax
also has
so 2-1.
Crownie probably also has LEC offers. I'm not sure, but like there's a lot of people nowadays who would rather be on like a decent ERL team or in Nemesis case like Stream than to be on the bottom tier LEC team because they just look like they're such a mess.
You want to try and leverage
And they
the
are.
small advantage that you have
Mostly.
right now as far as your team comps go, while
So
Ezreal and Corki still ramping up towards
that's what I mean by the problem.
towards Muramana.
Yeah, or if you didn't get LEC offers, that's also a bit of a strange thing. I'm not saying that like they're for sure better than all the people who are in the LEC or anything like that. It's just it makes me sad that we've kind of we waste so much talent at the moment in the ecosystem.
It could potentially be a setup starting towards that dragon. Now, of course, I feel like it's a little bit placebo when people think that Blitzcrank is the tanky.
Yeah, Santorin wants the coach, but it's just whether he can
type of support, if you will. He gets
dedicate the time to it to do it with the team properly, just like the same as when if he played.
Right there. However, talking about targets,
So now Velya's up in CS and an upper level, not a level, half a level, because of the like cheeses, you know. Well, actually, even though the cheeses got assists, I was gonna say like I shouldn't comment on this game because I've been barely watching,
Another one.
just enjoying it.
If you want to play towards the dragon, we're really playing with a very fine line right here. Of course, Vi's very hold on, hold that dot.
Sidestep indeed. Howling is able to get the grasp, but Bounce is going to go behind enemy lines and take the next wave.
Now he just goes and takes the next wave because you've got no ult. Okay, nice. I mean that juke is insane. That's what gets the return kills. And now, like, Vi can just absolutely pop off. And this is why I think it's strange that they don't have that much priority on Vi. Like, I think it's really good. I mean, they have a lot of priority on Vi, but just not as much as we would have had, for example. Like, first game we're taking Vi there. Now top two are going to EMEA Masters. Yes. Well, it's the new Nord now. We've got 3 new players, so I'm excited to see us against NLC first. And then when if we get to EMEA Masters, then I'll be excited for that as well. It's been a long time since I played in EMEA Masters.
So actually be focusing towards that, right? They want to disrupt the dragon, but wasn't expecting him to still be in the bush. Still works out in the Rat's favor though here, getting that first dragon, then continuing the trend of taking those drags.
Ooh, the grab. Don't think Crownie's that insane. He's good, but not an insane talent. Nemesis really should be Do's lane.
even if he did, he got hit from base.
Yeah, and a big stun.
I think in the NLC at least, Crownie was performed better than Nemesis.
In the interview that we had with Velya, and especially when Skins was mentioning how much he pressured him, right? He was like,
Especially considering, like,
that happens. And I feel like right there in that bot lane, he had avenues to invade.
again, on paper, you would think that Matty and people like Exafan kind of thing are more...
He's also playing towards himself, right? Like, again,
I would say in general on paper,
15 gap right now.
the NLC AD was stronger than NLC mid.
Himself, and it's really paying off. Paid off in that first game, and so far game number 2.
I thought Crownie was really insane in NLC. I haven't paid enough attention to EMEA Masters to have like a proper evaluation. You guys have to pass LR to get in, right? No, not for EMEA Masters. It's top 2 now. So whoever comes second as well in this next split will also, both the finalists already go to EMEA Masters. This split.
Right, we've got Prime roaming topside to make
Certain that Italian League has 3 slots with 5 teams. Oh yeah, that's true. You know they're going to have 4 slots, by the way, in summer. Italian League is going to have 4 slots for 5 teams in summer EMEA Masters. But it's because it's done on the year before. There's no other real way to do it, I think. And the year before was like Mako went to semis and Desire, went to semis as well, which was an insane glow up, and that earned them a bunch of spots. But the problem is it was an insane glow up, and then all the players changed, all the orgs changed a bit, and the league was made smaller. That's the problem with seeding in LoL, where you seed orgs rather than players, and you don't play against each other very much. How many slots does LFL have? In summer, probably a shit ton. I think it might still only be 4 or something, or 5. But loads. Yeah, next year we're going to get more slots because of... Yeah, you should get in there. Because we're going to have more slots, and then if LR do well in the next EMEA Masters, if we also do well in the next EMEA Masters, we'll have even more slots. What I'm hoping is that we can, in 1 year, pressure Riot to make it an accredited ERL again. Although actually, to be fair, nowadays with rev share on non-accredited ERLs, I don't know what actually changes with an accredited ERL. But I mean, when I was in, before the LEC, when I was in ERLs, the French league was a bit like the NLC is now. Like sometimes there were good teams in it, but mostly it was a bit of a like less serious. And then you had people like Solari and Carmine like come in and make it really hype. And then after it became really hype, they also performed well. And then loads of talent went there because everyone wanted to play against them. And then big orgs came in because the normal games get loads of viewers, and therefore the normal games get more viewers, and it like snowballs, you know? Did Nord go 3-2 versus... yeah, Matchco. Yeah, but it's our second ever scrim. We looked not like a team. The Nord team did not go 3-2 because we were not a team. We just have some insanely good players. Who decides what influences leagues get how many spots? Previous EMEA Masters performance. They seed it like it's like the teams remained the same, they seed it, and it would make sense if all the teams remain the same, but in ERLs everything changes. I mean, even this NLC split, by the way, is seeded based on last split, which means surely you would think like this is the most fair seeding it could ever be, which it probably is. But even then, loads of the teams are completely changed. Like Verdant's completely changed. So they were the 3rd, 4th seed or whatever. They were the 4th seed. They've completely changed their roster. And they might be much worse. So we've got what, Ruddy and Bulldog in our... I don't know, like the Ruddy roster's still not even been shown. So it's like it's all different. I don't actually know what it means in practice nowadays to be accredited, so maybe I shouldn't be excited about it. Basically, there are some ERLs that are accredited ones, which are much closer to Riot. They're much bigger. They get more EMEA Masters spots. And I think the way the business side of it works is different. It always used to be. And NLC used to be an accredited ERL, and then it stopped being one. The problem that we had is that when they made it an unaccredited ERL, they didn't tell anyone they were going to do that. So I was actually about to join I won't say who, I guess, a sports team who would put together an esports department, and they wanted me to run the League of Legends section. And they were literally the day before they signed with their major sponsor for their sports team, who was also going to be like, yeah, we'll do stuff in the esports industry. You've convinced us. Then it became an unaccredited ERL, and suddenly all the business side of it changed. And even though it might have actually, the prospect might have been the same, probably wasn't. But even if it was, it's enough of a like, what? You want us to go into this industry where some random like god figure can just decide to flip a switch, and now suddenly our business thing changes completely? And so because it was like a proper company, they were like, no, we're not doing that. So it all fell apart, unfortunately, when we lost accreditation. So who stayed the same? LR, Bulldog, and who else? I have no idea. There could be just that. I'm not even completely sure Bulldog fully remained the same. I know at least there were conversations about some of the Bulldog players in other places, in other ERLs. But maybe they have remained the same. Good for them if they have. Because I thought Exafang was getting offers from places.
to try and get that Ambessa. That's currently sitting
But it might just be those two, or even that one.
potentially in the back line, and you've got a flashless.
Yankos is really good. Like, he knows the game so well. If you guys can get better at macros, that should be very good. Yeah, I want to talk a lot with Yankos about the game to try and see how he understands it and stuff like that. Just came from Prime League, right? So he was in a traditionally bigger league, although now I think Prime League is... But Prime League is, I think, an accredited ERL. So I shouldn't say accredited ERLs always have a good ecosystem, because that's a struggle. But yeah, I still have to confirm when I'm going to do more stuff with Yankos, but we'll do stuff on stream together talking about the game. Okay, 2 dragons again. Same situation, right? Game is kind of equal. EC has more grubs and less dragons. This one has gone full watch party, and I don't mind it at all.
Third dragon denied from RATONES. Back on the board at IJC, and RATONES are just hoping that they'll step in and 2 man scout of the week. Reckless.
Oh,
We talk about the arrow on top.
huge.
The attack will have the smite down. So third dragon denied from RATONES. Back on the board at IJC, and
And this is the same thing I made a short about recently. Like,
2 man scout of the week. Reckless set up the team.
to identify that this is going to be a position that will happen, I think is really good. And this is the kind of decision making. Like, if you guys were saying it's Nemesis comms this game, like, I'm assuming he's calling that. Like, to know like they will go into a position where they will be vulnerable, I think that's really, really cool.
The question now is what are Los Ratones going to take?
Yeah, the thing is, the thing with the Baus one is that it's much worse when there's no lane swaps.
Another 5 seconds, they're top
Because his backup champs like Kane and stuff, if you swap on them, I think they're just done.
There's no AP. Might not matter.
Whereas
Prime is the new target again.
now you can't swap on them. I think they're actually much better. So,
Howling dead for another 3 seconds.
Caedrel's plan from here was triple D strategy, focus on draft, dragons, and discipline.
feast to secure.
Like that. Anything where you can get like a meme from it or like an easy thing to remember is really, really useful. And just keep that in mind, like over and over. That's really cool. And again, probably from that interview with Reckless, you got into a situation where, like, actually, if Caedrel's thinking we're going to spend more time on draft because we're already this team and we don't have time to practice, we just talk about draft, he's already thinking about it more deeply than coaches who've been doing it for ages in esports. Or the Quinn incident. Yeah, exactly. Like, you can't do that anymore. So Quinn is actually, I think, a real threat. Because if you can just swap on it, then you make one mistake in a swap game on Quinn, you're toast for the entire game. Not that he just made one mistake in that game, but that's why I shared it, because I knew with lane swaps going, it's not going to be something that we consider. But also, on the other hand, you can't swap into Gwen or into Trundle, which murder tanks. Yeah, and more discipline as the tournament went on, which is cool. LR have never really encountered resistance. What is that? I don't know what that means. Didn't they lost the KCB and they went 5-game series against Supermassive? Or do you mean just losing a bunch of games? Like fully losing? Because resistance implies difficult games, and they've had difficult games. But they haven't like lost loads. But I don't know why. I don't know why people, like, obviously in the past, Nemesis and Crownie have both had, and Reckless even have had like toxic things, as in like people have called them toxic, people that have played with them in the past. But like, I don't know why. From what I've seen so far in LR, I don't know why. I think they deal with losing not the best. I think, for example, like the Nord team from last split, dealt with losing like unbelievably well. And but I do think LR deal with it just as well as any other ERL team, you know? So, yeah, they lost to KCB, lost 0-5 to Heretics and Scrims. Yeah. Like also these players, like it's always going to have like troubles. It's not like they're never going to have problems as a team. But I just think they do so many things really well. I think it's great. Do you think traditional sports are crushing overall, or do you think they are losing viewership and interest as well? I have no idea. I don't know any of the stats on that, so I wouldn't want to say. I don't know if are they losing viewership. I know stuff like with Drive to Survive, F1 is like bigger than it's ever been in history. and stuff like that. So I think that's useful. No, not useful, but I think that's good. There's a clip of the spreadsheet of all the LR drafts went through. It says hundreds and hundreds. No, we didn't do hundreds and hundreds before the finals. We did quite a few. I personally don't really like necessarily doing like hundreds and hundreds, because I like to focus as much as possible on like patterns and stuff rather than specifics. But like we said before with the T1 example, if it was a full-time team and you get to EMEA Masters, I would do draft meetings every day, obviously. So you would end up with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds because you're not doing scrims. I would just focus on the drafts from that point. I haven't really looked at this fight before. Someone asked an actual question about it. So Ash got seen bot lane, but he's still going to be able to ult. They take a massive chunk from the Baron. But now they just let them fully walk in, and it's not a flip because it's choke out. Doing this this is wild. It's like the last one as well. The last Baron as well was really weird. In this fight, do you think it's worth for BC to be hitting Baron here? I think you can't get this to a 50-50 because it's not 50-50. Like, you can't let everyone come in. So as you're already here, you need to be thinking like, are we going this Baron to kill it, or are we going to to fight? If you're going to fight, then you should be having people flanking, like trying to get into multiple different directions. You need to obviously remove this vision for sure. Then if you're trying to do the Baron, the problem with Blitz on the side is that obviously Blitz's big threat is the pull. And if you pull someone to the side and they just you are there, it's not as much of a big threat. So like if it's Alistar, you obviously you want to be on like the flanks, like this bush, the one that's down here, all those kind of things. But for me here, this just seems like they think they can do it faster than they can do it. And now they realize, shit, we can't do it. We don't have time. And so 3 of them leave and they're like, we don't have time. And these 2 just carry on. And that's the part that's like not ideal. I think here, just get out. Okay, we used tempo, we made them panic and we got chunked. But already it's probably too low because they'll try and keep it. But just to keep pushing forward, like, now you flash and then you flash out.
No flash on Nemesis or Crown either.
Yeah, this looks like we're burning it. In that case, Blitz has to make sure the Cho just doesn't walk in. I mean, you have to also Via will walk in and you're 50-50 it. I just think they have nowhere near enough time to burn it. So for me, it just looks like it's really confused because 3 of them leave. So 3 of them here think, oh, we don't have time anymore. They're already running away when it's on like 7k HP. So like either we're flipping it, in which case, you ult already this way and you just sacrifice yourself and you try and hook someone away exactly like you said, or you don't, but this is the worst case. And does this just win them the whole game? Yeah, they just expected to do it much faster. They have 2 AD carries and they saw Ash bot. They thought they would just do it much faster. Remember Reckless saying he was in T1 that the only thing they ever talked about was draft? Yeah, we spoke about that before. So once you get to a big tournament and your like development is done, I think you should just absolutely think about draft only. And the fact that we don't do that for Worlds is a bit of a indictment of the way that we approach Worlds. Like last Worlds, FlyQuest apparently didn't re-scrim Asian teams, and it wasn't because they chose not to. They just didn't get any partners, supposedly. Never know how much of that is bullshit or not, but that was the story. And I think they were better for it because, like, you scrim people like T1 and stuff to get better. You don't scrim them to give yourself a best chance of beating them. But we were at Worlds to get better.
The TP, the TP howling.
You know,
Yeah, now it's just like,
not open, but here in this game, they
now it's a 6k goal lead and they're just
Certus coming in, Nemesis
toast. Is game 3 just really one-sided? Like game 2 was really close. EC should have won and kind of through. Game 2 was like even-ish until they just make some ridiculous call and then they just tilted off the face of the earth.
doing something else to someone else. Certus over the wall is getting burnt down as Nemesis is
Yeah, but also during the season, maybe they are discussing non-draft stuff.
And almost 7,000
You know?
gold lead for Los Ratones.
But when you're at the competition that you're trying to win, you shouldn't be looking to change your systems around the game. Like the way that you talk about team fights shouldn't change while you're at Worlds. Now, the thing that makes it slightly more confusing here, well, there's two things. Firstly, is that it's this back-to-back-to-back tournament, so you don't have time to do anything else. That kind of makes things a bit simpler. But the other thing is that Worlds is the end of your year, whereas EMEA Masters isn't the end of your year. So
There's a choke athlete in your team, dude. That's not even a flip at that point, man. That's just chogas up for grabs.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a great decision right there, and it will lead into the downfall of the LFL.
and this is where like the draft is playing Ambessa and Blitzcrank in a game like this at this stage is just so hard. Whereas playing all of LR's comp is so much easier.
Yeah, that's the herald of your doom here if you are a French fan.
So if any of these,
It's been,
Well, he is a gentleman. He picked up a book.
he is indeed.
if any of these
Well, because
teams are spending time like trying to change their systems around the game during EMEA Masters, I'm going to say it's a mistake. Even though they can, obviously, they can say, well, we're learning for spring or whatever. But it's just not like efficient.
and they have tea, yeah.
Just getting to watch you live from now on the VOD on Game 1 draft. I actually put up competitive data for LR.
I've been here for like 3 or 4
Few picks of Oro, especially deny normal combos.
I'm just saying.
Okay. Yeah, I like it as a takeaway. And as we said, I think, wait, was Azir or something gone?
The Foxtrot is just hanging.
Magi's on Tank Joe.
The croissants are good, the cheese, the wine. Like,
Yep.
I need English breakfast. We have the
And he's got his Halo blades that he loves.
spouse is now gigantic, by the way. If you're wondering why the camera just seems to be panning away and
Would you consider LR to be Nord's biggest competition in the NLC? I hope so.
but it's because Munich is constantly under
Things are going well if LR are our biggest competition. So last split they were, and I hope that they are again. But I would prefer that than our biggest competition be Bulldog or whatever.
Ever for NLC to go 2-0
Actually, to be honest, in the finals, I think the game Bulldog against us was actually maybe not. I was going to say closer than our game against Los Ratones, but the goal would be to either beat Los Ratones or make it so they're our best competitor. I'll say it like that. Like they're our most close competition.
That's Sterak and Nemesis, no hourglass, no flash, no defensive spells whatsoever onto Syndra. So it could be a way that you get howling.
I have to keep going because I've got a meeting in an hour or something that I need to get ready for.
If there is going to be a miraculous play, it's going to have to come through that top lane for IGs.
Will this still be alive? Because Baus is chasing down and thinking about what he can do here. Spotted out of 2 members. The arrow flies.
I love that with the Syndra trick.
About to meet his fate. Not even chomped up. In the end, it's Nemesis who gets the kill.
You throw the vision, it's insanely strong.
Stack to Magi, Syndra. The book is out and Los Ratones have a 5v4 for 45 seconds.
Again, just like really clean. Like they know, like
In the back, taking a stray right there.
there's this thing on EC where it looks like they're not quite on the same page still, like with the Baron or with the diving onto Velia in the previous game, those kind of things. That just looks like, okay, so you're telling me it's Nemesis, that's fine. Like, it looks like Nemesis just saying, like, we're doing this.
Velia at half HP. The inhibitor
And everyone's like, okay.
almost 10,000 gold at 30 minutes here in game 2.
Scary stuff right there. The Q landing from
Yeah, 2 teams in spring and 3 teams in summer, although I think in summer there's a play-in stage, and I think actually 2 of the teams go into play-ins. So only 1 goes straight to EMEA Masters, and the rest have to go through play-ins.
Against K-Corp in game 1, in group stage, Los
Don't say it,
Ratones
don't say it.
were up about 10 to go.
I said don't say it, man.
And that was a pretty rubbish throw that kept happening. And, you know, it's not like
Listen,
the team
if,
is playing for the
okay,
world.
if that happens after you've said it, you're kicked from the
Well,
class.
that's fine.
Yeah, that crab vision is really good.
Don't seem to be stopped, and no, that's definitely not going to be the case. The Theocactus is pulled out, and as we said in this game, he was always behind. He was always trying to find elements of the game, but it's just been Velia's game to lose at this point.
Velia has done
And that's the big thing in games like this. It looks much more
a little bit.
like LR are playing what will happen, and EC are playing more what is happening. Obviously, it's not exactly true, but
At the end of game number 1.
next, the NFC winner does not have to do play-ins. I don't think there even is play-ins for next, the middle EMEA Masters. I think there's only play-ins for the massive one. So for next one, 2 teams just go to the full event. I think it could be that 1 goes to the full event and 1 goes to play-ins. And then the last one has a play-ins, and one team goes to the full event and 2 teams go to play-ins from NLC. But that's because NLC did like the worst out of all regions. So Italy did much better last year in EMEA Masters, which is why they've got more slots this year, even though the teams have changed. And even though there's a lot more people in NLC you probably want to see in EMEA Masters. Okay, Summer's the only one with play-ins, okay.
XXO's not gonna be fun with Ash and Syndra.
And not a lot of this game is fun. I would
Good,
say,
good.
To be fair. And that is just going to add on top of it, as you mentioned. Now
So 10k, and it's all just like it's basically just from this Baron and then just been like snowballed out well.
the last game. But that will be just another weapon in the arsenal for the Rats to push down and close this game out. Game number 2 in this series. As you say, putting them IJC on the brink of elimination if they can't hold on.
I think they just walk it in. Try to find a good hook, but the thing is that the thing with the Maokai Blitz combo that's so good is that not only does it snare the person you're looking for, it also snares the people around that. Yeah, I think banning out Azir instead of Syndra. I think he's so comfortable on Syndra. I mean, he's good on Ori as well. The thing with Azir is it's just like always useful. And Certus is an Azir player though, right? Yeah, exactly. So in that situation, Vi can tank the Blitz hook. But if it's Maokai and you get multiple people, it stops the people who would block it, as well as stops the people who you're looking to, the person who you're looking to hook. And that's why that's the combo that we see a bit more than the Sedge Blitz combo. Because you ult one person and then just someone tanks it. So in this case, Vi.
Watch the full game from EMEA Masters.
So still a bunch, like, to be honest, I don't like keeping the bans the same. In Fearless, when you're losing, I would like to change it up. So we changed, like, in Game 3, if you noticed in the final, we just changed it up completely. Because it's just like, look, we're going to do something different. Because I don't like that feeling of, what if? I'd rather try something different and get murdered for trying something completely wrong and strange than just keep doing the same thing, because then you always have in the back of your mind, like, what if we did try something different? Nemesis had an 80% winner on Azir. That's quite a scary stat. Okay, so wait, Ezreal is up? No, Ezreal was taken last game. So yeah, Trist, and they can go, Maokai's banned, but they can go Ivan as well on 2-3 with Trist, and it can flex. I don't know why, but it feels like they hadn't scouted LR or something. So probably like Maokai ban is kind of insane. I don't think Velia's looked amazing on Maokai, but they must be scared of it for some reason.
It is, and we could see that Ivan that we talked about a little bit before actually pick up ink numbers with it as well. I mean, it's the last 3 left remaining. We haven't seen one.
There are certain drafts that LR doesn't like playing against, so I keep the bans the same. No, I'm not saying the bans were never a good idea, although I haven't done enough prep on LR's EMEA Masters run to say what I would do. I'm just saying, if you go through an entire best of 5 with the same approach every single time, personally, I don't like it, because afterwards I feel as a coach like we didn't try anything different. So when we went 0-2 down, we kind of just were like, okay, fine. Fuck it, let's try something different. What else? What else have we got? What's a different way of playing? And instead we're just going to go super heavy skirmish style. We're going to first pick Panth, and we'll probably put it support straight away. We just take Panth's edge and we just run around fighting. LR played Maokai every series. Yeah, exactly. They did play it, but they didn't look great on it. Wouldn't drafting like what KC or Super did most effective, given they've been most successful? Not necessarily, but that is also really a thing that happens a lot. Is one team kind of shows you the blueprint for beating another team, and then people can just copy it. But only if your players feel comfortable executing that same kind of idea. So it does happen a lot, but unless your team is very, very similar, it can be maybe not an option team. Yeah, so I like Lilia. I think she's really strong, but I don't like blind Lilia, because now I would have thought it would have gone Milio. Is Milio banned? Because you can Milio the sleep, right?
I live to fight another day. Yeah, lots of move speed here, lots of move speed, lots of grouping up, pressing that go now button, diving forward.
And now you're playing Lilia against double AD carry
Do a lot of damage as well. Don't forget to
and an enchanter. And if you make one slight misposition in team fights, you're just going to get murdered from range with undodgeable shit. It's not like they're throwing skill shots at you and you can use the movement speed. Yeah, the Nidalee is little hard, not so much setup. The only place you've got setup is in your top lane, and then it's double AP. Yeah, Mikhail's does it for one person, right? That's all. But Lilia does make the scale even stronger, right? Because the Lulu with the
And they have done incredible things so far. If they could beat the LFL, the second seed of it, 3-0 in their first EMEA Masters final, who knows how far they'll go. This is only the beginning here. Match point, game 3.
And this could be the beginning of something big in general.
This game's a rough start.
I mean, of course, Reckless had his debut in the LEC, but he's Swedish. That is the region. That Swedish talent comes from, same as Baus.
Alrighty, these level 1s. That's a big mantra queue coming through from Prime as well. The poke, I think, actually might set
What would you do instead of Nidalee, though?
Goat with 5 stars.
I mean, if you could play anything.
Was that reference to Vega? It was a gold with 5 stars.
Could you do the same thing but with like Zyra? Or even just keep the Gragas as a flex?
They're on TR, they get everything, right? They don't have to pay for the emotes.
Yeah, but if he did, I was to say, that would be...
And then Gragas can go in the jungle.
Exactly. Oh, man,
You take the Kayn, flex the Kayn. That was blue Kayn was the counter to Lilia when Lilia was really OP. It's just like stuff that you can't dodge. And now when Lilia is much stronger, when there's no like, there was no what, Nautilus, Alistar, all those kind of things that can just insta jump on you and you just die in the CC.
I mean, smashing indeed. I want to say, Nemesis has been pretty pungent in these lane phases.
Yeah, I think Velia is better on carries, personally. Sivir murders Zyra plants. I don't know, actually.
It's inside her build to be able to push these waves through the passive. So it just bites through those waves super fast, which then allows Velia to roam free on this map. And it is carry versus carry matchup here in the jungle, so having that prior mid...
What's the bug in this game? What happens is you get a list of champs that you're allowed to, like, that you can play, that you can't play, for example, which almost never has any champs on. But you'll also get stuff like, for example, in this split, there was a rel bug, and it was just said, like, you can't W flash on rel. What is the sleep bug? What does it do? I mean, if you're walking forward to W the Zyra plants, then that's good for Zyra. Like, as in any AD can auto them, right? The W factor doesn't really make that much difference. And then the Q probably doesn't one-shot them, I would guess. Her ult just doesn't do anything. Oh. That's a tragedy. If that bug happens in a game, you can chrono break it. So you would take it hoping the bug doesn't happen. And if it happens, you would pause. And there would be, if it's a reproducible bug, there would be a specific thing about it. It's a known bug. Okay. So if it's on the list saying, but what does the list say? You know, they say there is a bug with Lilia if she ults too late, and we're not going to let you remake, because that's hard. That's harsh. Okay. Yeah, I mean then it's harsh, but you just got to do it early enough. Flash down a mid and top. Yeah, if it's a known bug and then noted about it, someone said on YouTube, which is a good point. That's the reason. Like if you say beforehand, this is what we will do if this bug happens, then you can do that. If it's a new bug, then it is almost always paused and either chrono break or like remake or whatever. Yeah, if it's something you can influence. So for example, with the rel thing, they said if you W flash on rel, you will like lose the game. You'll be punished by losing the game. So we tested it in some scrims, and then they said you're not allowed to do it. And that's again another one of the things. Oh my god, you can see where he sleeps though, can't you? Or is that just Lilia? Zoe.
running for his life. There's no
Because that's a big kill to miss.
now their own jungler getting threatened out by the 2v2. Billy trying to help out with his primal surge up and ready, but the spear doesn't connect. Crownie walking forward.
Because now you also don't take a few camps too. Okay.
And that's exactly what I meant.
Did not be.
Facilitating your jungler. Nemesis drops mid, dips straight into the jungle. Surges does the same thing. They start trading. But remember what I mentioned earlier about none of them has any CC. The fights get going back and forth until everyone blows their summoners. Crownie did not have his flash from the earlier skirmish down the bottom.
This is like such a low. This might be the lowest CC score professional game I've ever seen.
Wait.
He'll have W again soon.
Yeah, and Baus will just eat him, so Theocax has to be pretty careful about how he plays this. Baus thinking about trying to dive to the turret. Prime is here. He's tagged out in the end, so Baus will dive. He's going to die to the support.
Oh, look how much time he's wasting.
Yeah, like he knows turret range as well. I love it. Like, bro, Baus is, as you said, wasting so much time. Next wave comes in. It's delayed, so naturally it'll be a bit of a push. You're right, Baus wasted time. Dragon's free.
Absolutely, and there's no TP on Howling to join them. There is TP on Baus.
This is the reverse of what we saw before.
TP back into the fight.
Before he died 20 seconds before an objective to give him the objective. This time he gets you the dragon. Happens.
Sunday and Prime having great fun in this lane with the PS sword as well, and that slingshot. There's a lot more silver damage than you'd expect after getting that early kill, but regardless, as Howling now starts proxying off the house, back up top with a lost chapter and symbiotic soul, so he's still doing fine regardless of his gold lead in his competitor.
And very importantly, I feel like the one item qualifies right here for IJC, well, they do have a strong position. I feel like Wild Arrow, Blade of the Ruined King specifically for Certus, and Leandris for Lilia are super strong first items.
Happening again though, the invade causes the flash.
Okay.
It's gonna be a death, though. Baus has his ulti available, but Flash is on a cooldown. Spear onto the
Yeah, yeah. He giveth and he taketh away. Tragedy. Imagine playing against it as well. It's like he's inting, he's won the game. I mean, Hamsamdi in a very good position in this game is a bit of a... Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Surely in the pocket when he goes back to base, and this is a completely different game that we're seeing from IJC. That's what I meant when I said they're second at the entire tournament at kills per game. They like playing aggressive, they like playing for the early game, they like the extra early kills, specifically on Hansam D, but when you have a Lila, you definitely take those.
And this was just so well played from IJC right here. The turnaround to start with. Los RATONES looked like they wanted it, but what a swell sleep. Double sleep, double pop, boom. There it is, easy as you like. Double kill for Theocax.
So for Crownie with a jump scare as well, we started to chase the car.
It's weird, they say Lost Ratones and then ICJ. IJC, sorry. I'm saying EC Japon.
And Vi, but
yeah, but you know, again, last game was pretty big, and even his middle league that we've seen so far, I believe in the tournament, in scrims has been huge.
oh yeah.
This is what we said on the desk. You said it, Georgia. I mentioned wanting to see Prime and Theocax pair up. What just happened there on the chicken invade? It was Theocax and Prime moving together. They were making some decent map plays in this series, but they weren't doing it together as a pairing, and so it was a little bit weak. This time around, though, things are very different. What isn't different, though?
And he's just going to get the wave and probably get away. And yeah, it's free to chase him for that one little bit, but now you just have to farm on a tower and he has all this time to go and do something. And then he's just going to get the next wave. Like, you can't do anything. You have to pressure him, just in case. Okay, and now you get flash as well.
Ooh, I don't like that Theocax committed his flash right as his Leandris completed 54 seconds for that dragon. You could end your game right there. The 3,000 gold in the lead.
This is a really good point from Trouble. I think it's not actually worth the flash there.
When this dragon spawns up very soon, I feel like with the push that you've got from IJC,
Because if you can get a flash Q ult in this kind of fight around this dragon, then it can be done. This is something we did terribly in our scrims. Flash is unbelievably OP in competitive games. Losing flash before an objective, like if Baus is up for the dragon, I would prefer to have just like okay, this dragon is the second dragon, so it's a bit different. But if it's like the third or something like that, where there's going to be a fight around it, or if it's like Elder or Baron or anything like that, you'd much rather have the flash and just give them an extra kill. If you play around it properly. Oof. Tragedy. Oh my god. Okay. He gets barrier, but that's big. So easy in a EMEA Masters final with 300k viewers to make a mistake and think. Yeah, exactly. Again, they should be used to high viewer games, but it's in any final. It's hard. And you probably flash, and the second you flash, you're like, oh, Maybe that wasn't worth it. But they did get the dragon anyway, and they got it without a fight, so you didn't need it for that fight. But I would just say in general, something that we definitely need to get better at, for sure. Has Nor decided on a person to do summoner times yet? I'm talking with Alfie about it, but we'll see. For me, I think everyone needs to realize how unbelievably important they are first. Because we're also not even playing around our own summoners properly in that scrim. So we're opting into fights where an IID carry has no summoners. And it's just lucky that the enemy doesn't just insta-flash on him and kill him. And so it's two things. Someone needs to actually do the practical thing of timing them, but everyone needs to know how important they are and be able to actually play around it. Oh, really nice timed. Oof. Oh my god. This is where you're like, can we have some CC, guys? Oh. I had OBS accidentally selected when I tried to do the hotkey on this, and it did a different hotkey. You almost chased them all down, and you almost killed them all. 3k with 30k gold. This should be... I mean, Cassante is, again, harder to play. Like Ambessa or Cassante. Generally... Not always, but generally stuff like Ambessa Cassante just has lower win rate the lower down you go in competitive. Highest win rate in LPL LCK, then a little bit lower in LEC, then a little bit lower in like LTA, and a little bit lower in ERLs. To keep snowballing this game and making sure that Velia doesn't get a chance to.
Flicker Blade was just completed by Sivir as well. Handsome D really given the tools to carry this game. 1.3 thousand gold up. And Velia's fancying his chances versus the Cassandra because knows his team is coming through.
Cranny doesn't get the slowdown though, but Baus is also here.
They chase him down, right? No.
Still got a turret up here as well. Baus doesn't do enough damage yet, but Velia again trying to get the speed, but it's taking so long. Shocked and howling and set up against the turret.
Oh, almost. You lose in a tower mid, but it's much less gold.
Keeping 3 members busy from Los RATONES. Last time this play happened in the top lane, it was tier 1 mid.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the things that was best about us last split is that Treats was just so clear on flashes. But we'll get there. It's just a new team and there's not someone who was doing it anyway. Because then it's just easy, right? You were talking about impact as a coach makes. Like, all I do is give him permission to be doing the thing he wants to do with the timing of the flashes. Whereas now it's different because no one had that before. No one was the one person. They've all come from teams where multiple people are doing it. Yeah, so like if you're on Doinby's team, then you don't need to worry about it. And then you move to a new team and suddenly you've not got Doinby on your team and you're like, it's now a skill that I'm missing. And so you just need to start to build up that habit again, and that's what we're into. Yeah, it's not even just the tracking them, it's like making it a big deal. Like everyone coming into a fight needs to know that Crownie's flash is down. Could it work for the timing of summoners during scrims that everybody just times? Yeah, that's something to consider. The question is if we have enough time. It could work just in general, that you time your opponents. If there's no one who can do it all, then everyone's just going to have to time the person they're against. But for me, there's 2 stages as, yeah, making sure everyone realizes how important it is, and then making sure they're actually tracked. And I think making sure they're actually tracked actually is probably easiest to just work on with one person. We just need someone to volunteer for it because it makes you worse, right? If you have to worry about other stuff until you get fully used to it, until it's like fully autonomous, it does make you worse. I mean, by the way, just starting Atakan in front of everybody, we've seen this before. We've seen this before, guys.
That was genius. They took a CP.
Yeah, great stuff right here from IJC. You don't need to commit.
Whoever looks around the map should do it. Highest APM.
Now the pressure's on Los RATONES. Do they want to really re-engage?
I mean, everyone should ping the person they're against, and then someone should flash it. Ooh, that's a really big engage from Baus, by the way, because it completely kills the follow-up to this Lily roll. Yeah, exactly. Atakan's just such a bait.
that teleport from Serta still not pulled. He's still around mid.
So he just completely disrupts their engage and also gets out.
Nemesis gets out reckless at half.
So that just cancels, yeah, it costs his flash and stuff, but it fully cancels the double Lilia ult.
Teleported to mid, by the way, just to defend the wave.
Although obviously the double Lilia ult's not perfect, but
As third time's the charm, it seems.
That's an immortal shield bow Yone that just came in, and a lot of the crucial.
but now it's just like, you're just going to get shredded by this. Everyone but Bounce Times in LR. Yeah, yeah, so it's good to like ping all the ones you see. There's no reason to not ping.
But it's still being pressured. This is a massive mistake.
TP timers should be solo lanes, of course, because you're going to be the one against them the most.
Velia jumps in.
And someone just tracks them all, basically. Crownie takes them with I mean, look, this it's again just bad macro calls that are costing EC all these games. I don't know why you're starting this over and over again, especially when you have so much pressure on side lane. I think now. Now Bounce just buys loads of time. They just keep it.
Is going to drop. The flowers exposed. Crownie sitting, taking as much as he can as IJC are ulting upon, but there's the Cassante ulting meat. Howling. He's
Just okay. They just start it, get chunked, back away, lose it, die.
Small details we talk about with Lost RATONES.
The cooldowns weren't there for Los Ratones, but they weren't there for IJC
Good job.
either. EC Japon, they use on the
Tracking spells and using that info helps teams with short calling, team fighting catches. Yeah, for sure. So for me, from a team point of view, there's two things that need to be worked on. We need to actually track them, but I think the first thing we need to work on is to realize how fucking important they are, because then we'll track them more. So rather than going straight in with, okay, we have to track summoners, the next scrim we do, our goal is going to be about team fighting, and we're going to define how important flashes are. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, a few autos just get rid of all the plants is cool. But they're just, like, all these calls are, like, so desperate. All the time. They're just really unclear about how they want to actually win the game. I can see why you say it looks like they just sort of kind of crumble under the pressure. I don't know if it's actually true, because, like I say, there's probably more people watching this than the LFL finals, right? But it's probably not that many more. Obviously, they lost that as well. So maybe that's... How many watched LFL finals? Because, but also, like I say, they lost that anyway. So... Yeah, I guess it will be a lot more. But my point is that, like, if it was like 350 or 470, like, it's a shit ton. No, I know, but like they played against Kameto's team in LFL finals, right? So
he has got a big old wave, and he is Tristana, but I don't think he's going to keep that push going. If he gets caught here, then this is bad news.
This is like, I tell you what, actually, I want next EMEA Masters. Okay, only 110. I guess it's KCB now, right? It always used to be higher than that. But if it's their backup team, it's not as hype. And they also, yeah, just competed in finals and stuff like that.
500 gold now, the only lead. IJC, we were celebrating, the return of the LFL.
Yeah, the thing is with the Baron, though, is that they also could have called it another 5-10 seconds later and still been there on time. Like, it wasn't like super close, was it?
It was completely different for a game. He's able to stand up to Velia. Even though he still has an individual lead in this game, note that as Foxtrot before, Soul Point was taken away. So 2 dragons apiece, 3-minute 40 time.
Sorry, I just need to talk about my meeting. We're meeting with 3 people, 3 different places in the world, so we have to make sure the timing is right.
So many traps around. Anyone entering that riverside is going to be seen. And luckily for IJC, they do have their Cassante towards the top side of the map. And Certus, as you can see through your mini-maps, is going to start walking up. That the Scout Crab is going to get secured. Yeah, there you go. It's going to get secured for Theocax a little bit early on the smite. Oh, it was actually early smite. What happened there? They started again! Please! Please, what is going on?
I mean, Velya's here to poke.
Yeah, there's no Lulu. You don't have the setup, you don't have the vision.
Okay, sorry. Bunch of stuff going on all around the world. 110 was M85 was LFL final. Okay. Way bigger then. I'm aware it's just a meme these days that whoever stay behind after Atakan has to be the gardener. But it's also like really satisfying with the Zeri, right? With her what's it called? Runans? Runans picks up with the Q, it looked like. I don't know if that was actually true.
A bit of a knife edge, it feels like. At least the pressure is because of that lack of hard engage and big, easy to execute stuns. DC.
When is Nord the first official game? Next Thursday.
The risk of the punishment coming through being so prevalent in your face. IJC keep flirting with danger, but they know if they can pull one of these off.
On 2-0 in officials straight away. Yeah, how different is their team? I know they've got a couple the same, but do they keep... Is just bot lane they changed or what? Yeah, KC finals versus Lost Ratones will be hilariously big. But again, something we need to factor in is that when we were playing against KC before, it was like their main team. Whereas now, as soon as it's your academy, you will lose some of the viewers. Like only the most hardcore KC fans will watch both. So when LR have an academy team and a main team, you guys are going to have to decide: you watching both, or you just watching the LEC guys? The thing is with the KCB one is it's always going to feel a bit bad, right? Because it's not their team. They've got 2 new players. 2 is like nearly half their team is new.
He gets chunked massive to the point where he's out of the fight.
But that is the Lilia ult out. Theocast has his splash. Sorry, was my mind. Has his splash available to make that big.
Yeah, you do have the awesome narrative of losing before, and I think playing like this, LR would actually beat them, but they wouldn't beat their other roster. I think they looked very good. Hence why 2 of their players or one of their players went straight into the LEC before even the rest of the season goes.
Will be the end of EMEA Masters. IJC's LFL run could be over.
Big. Yeah, like I say, it's just like macro calls. But it's not, it's bad macro calls from EC that have lost all these games as far as I'm concerned. Like, LR have responded really well, and they can't do more than that. But it's like almost not been on them, you know? Yeah, good. Yeah, Casual would team both, surely.
As well. They weren't tried, they said. They weren't tested, they said. They weren't pushed to their limits.
But also in competitive, with scaling, you have to think about the team dynamics as well. So the part that strong scaling for EC is the rushing people down mid lane with Sivir and Lilia speed, which is actually not that easy to execute, I think, in the later stages of the game, and then playing on sides, which again, they scale really well on side, but playing through side is always harder than playing just grouped up together. Whereas the scaling for LR is much easier. And because look at how much like they just murder them when they group up and like do normal things. Yeah, but the thing that I was shocked about, I think LR's macro is insanely good. But I think this game I would describe, this series I would describe as EC losing on macro, not LR winning on macro. You know? But still, it's awesome. Like, so NLC has never won EMEA Masters. And to win EMEA Masters with the team that's already like doing things differently, streaming their scrims, all that kind of stuff, and as well as being the team that's like really hyped is so good. So how much is LR winning the series versus EC losing it? I think all of these games are lost from EC from macro calls. The way they played the Baron in the first game, I think, was a bad call, and that lost them the game. The thing they did with Baron in the second game was wild and absolutely lost them the game, although it was becoming hard. And in this game, the Atakan lost them the game. And those were all things that they weren't forced into. There's nothing that LR did that made them do that. Obviously, they pressured them by just being disciplined, bringing you back to the 3Ds. So they just kind of panicked, I guess, because of how they just couldn't find advantages and thought like, okay, we have to do this objective. But that's a bit of a worry for me if I'm on EC. That like we don't have a way to really close out, like force games to close out cleanly. Does this also kind of prove that streaming scrims is not a big disadvantage? I don't know about proof, but it's definitely good. It's definitely good for the future of LoL esports that LR win this for me, because they're showing that maybe we're not right about all these things that people are so sure about the fact that any time you stream scrims, you're going to lose for sure. So even if it's just like, okay, maybe you don't for sure lose, but maybe if they hadn't have streamed any of their scrims, they would have won all the games and not even gone to 5 games, you know? So it's hard to say. Yeah, it's a balancing act is a good way to describe it. I think absolutely people can share scrims. They just have to be a bit more specific about it. But because at the moment we're not very specific about practice at all, it's hard to do for scrims. I have to say yesterday, Dung Dynasty was playing really nice. Support Lucky. Yeah. Yeah, if I have time, I've got so many things I need to watch. And so many things I need to do. But I will check it out. Okay, I think I'm going to have to leave it there because I've got a meeting in a little while and I've got to prep for it. So really fun to watch their journey throughout the whole thing, and thanks for coming along. I enjoy the fact that these turned very much away from reviews and very much into just watching, because it is just fun to watch these with people. Other than that, tomorrow I'm going to be doing more reviews of our game, so if you want to see deeper dives of going into actual gameplay, we'll do that tomorrow. We have some puzzles as well that are now finished, and I'm going to make the last thing for the puzzles. How do you feel about current roster compared to last split? I don't really like comparing the rosters. I think it's very different. Like 3 out of 5 changing is a completely different team. So I'm kind of treating it as a new thing. It's just great to get to work with Thomas and Freddie again. And then the new guys, it's like a new team. So we'll see as we go. Great. Have a good day, guys. And I will see you tomorrow. So tomorrow at 2, I'll be streaming again if you want to check that out. If not, you can catch the full VOD on YouTube or on Twitch. See ya.